Hello and welcome to the KPI Institute's webinar, 7 Rules for Getting Visualization Right. My name is Andre Kostia and I will be your host for today along with our presenter Fadi Fuad Al-Jafari. This webinar is part of a series of free educational materials that aim to enhance the knowledge and know-how of those interested, while also creating a bridge between us as a company and you, our public. The KPI Institute is a research organization specialized in business performance. It operates research programs in 12 practice domains, each linked to a certification course ranging from strategy and KPIs to employee performance and from customer service to innovation performance. Today, 15 years after the KPI Institute was created, we can proudly say that our products and services have reached professionals on 5 continents and that our public comprises a worldwide community of around 84,000 members online and 30,000 registered companies on smartkpis.com. Today's webinar aims to help people understand the significance of data by placing it in a visual context. This presentation will be delivered by Fadi Fuad Al-Jafari, specialized in data analysis and data visualization. He delivered multiple training courses in 4 countries in data analysis and visualization. He has several certifications in Statistics Foundation, data analysis using Excel, analyzing and visualizing data with Excel, working with real-time data in Excel, Excel macros in depth, predictive analytics using Big ML, and he has been part of several projects in the last years. This presentation lasts approximately 40 minutes. Please feel free to ask any questions you might have during the presentation, as they will be answered at the end in our Q&A session. Enjoy the KPI Institute's webinar, 7 Rules for Getting Visualization Right. Now, I would like to invite Fadi to begin his presentation.
Thank you very much, Andre, for the introduction. Hello, everyone. I hope you will enjoy the time that we are going to spend together discussing the topic, 7 Rules for Getting Visualization Right. As per our agenda of this webinar, we will discuss 5 different topics, and they are: what is data visualization concepts, the importance of data visualization, the power of visual communication, how to deliver visualization to deliver a message, and success formula, the 7 rules. And we will conclude with the Q&A session. Our learning objectives of this webinar are going to help us to explain the importance of data visualization in business, understand how to deliver the desired message easily through visualization, understand data visualization spectrum, outlining the main topic of data visualization, and discuss and present the success rules. Now, we will start with our first topic of this webinar, and it's what is data visualization, the data visualization concepts. So, what is data visualization? Data visualization is the graphical representation of data and describing it in a visual context to help people understand the significance, the meaning, and the message of the data that we are trying to present. We have used data visualization, let's say, since the beginning of time, with the objective, let's say, to communicate and to pass the information from one to another. The more complicated the data gets, the harder it is to create, let's say, a graphs or a data visualization or a representation to communicate the data that we have so effectively. So let's say if we have a text-based data, it can be so hard, or even let's say a raw data, it will be very hard to detect, recognize, or even to find any patterns, correlations, or trends within it. And in visualizing the data, we will expose those trends, patterns, correlation, and it will be easily recognized. So the data visualization concepts. What is visualization? As we discussed previously, the presentation of data in a pictorial or graphical format to represent the data. Why we need data visualization? Comprehend information quickly, to identify relationships and patterns, let's say to pinpoint emerging trends, and to communicate the story to others. So who can use data visualization? There are multiple fields and areas where we can use data visualization. Let's say people that are working in computer science or statistics industries. They want to represent and to deliver a message using this data. So they will use data visualization. How can we use or how can we represent the data visualization? Using several tools, let's say Plotly using Python programming language, let's say Infogram, Excel, or even Tableau. So the data visualization concept, as you can see, data visualization is in the middle of this graph. As when we want to have an excellent visualization, there are 6 pillars that we need to fulfill, as the visualization must present information with a good user interface and a good design to communicate data visually to tell a story through data journalism. So for the second topic, the importance of data visualization. So let's start with the first point of data, why data visualization is important. Using data visualization, either through graphs, charts, or infographics, we will help people to absorb, let's say, vast amount of information more easily, fastly, in a very constructive way, as the receiver will see and perceive the connections between different data sets, and this will help in interpreting the data more easily. As you can see in this as you can see in this example, using simple line bar chart help you to gather more information and more amount of information faster compared to the text next of it. By the way, the graph and the text, they both have the same information. So for the second point, when we present data as graphs or charts or visualize the data, the relationships and patterns between two different variables or multiple variables will be more easier to identify and to find through the graph. For the third point, when we visualize the data, this will help decision makers to know exactly the location of the degradation in their data. Let's say the degradation in their sales, in their operational data, and so on. And will help them to know exactly where to focus to find the reasons of this degradation or this abnormal trend in data. So let's say in this example, the decision maker, we can grasp the information faster that the, let's say the consumers using their smartphones, if their smartphones are not very interested to view retail advertisement on their mobile devices for the 3 different age groups. So assume for the fourth point, assume you were able to use advanced data visualization tools. This will help you as a user to manipulate and interact with data directly. Let's say you can drag and drop. Let's say you can drag or dig deeper into the source of this data. The connection between multiple variables, the connection between data. Or even you may use a predictive analytics to predict future outcomes using those interactive visualization tools. Also, data visualization fosters a new business language nowadays. As companies nowadays, as you know, are looking to engage people more with using data visualization in their advertisement, or even when they create the logo of their company. As companies, let's say, use different type of visualization tools to represent their logo, like they are using different shapes, different typography. Sorry for the interruption. Different typography, colors, and so on. As each one of those have different meaning to deliver a message to the customers. So the type of the, let's say, the font, the color, the shapes that they are using will deliver different messages to the customers. So What do you think the power of visual communication? And why do you think companies focus on visual communication instead of simple text when it comes to advertising? Answering to this question, a lot of research had been conducted to see how much information we perceive through different senses. When it comes to consciously and subconsciously, we perceive vast amount of information in a very fast and effective way when we see it through our eyes. As 90% of information sent to the brain is visual, 80% of the information are remembered from what people see, and 50% of our brain is active in visual processing. As you can see, a lot of time we are not saying anything, we are not hearing anything, but as long as we are moving, we are seeing things around us. 40% of people respond better to visual information, and our brain processes visuals 60,000 times faster than text. So, another research found that the retention of information when it's, let's say, presented by visual and oral means instead of spoken words only is 6 times greater than delivering it using only spoken words. Okay, so I think that the very first thing that you looked at in this graph is the graphical representation, the visual representation, not the text. As you can see, for our eyes, in this example, it's easier for our eyes and brain to perceive the information when it's visualized compared to the text. It's easier to understand, read, and perceive the information in a very fast and effective way. So how do we use data visualization to deliver a message? To deliver a message through visualization, we use preattentive visual attributes. As visual attributes, or let's say as preattentive visual attributes or properties, is one which is processed in spatial memories without our conscious action. These properties, let's say, make it easier for us as a users or as a receivers to understand what is presented through the design. So let's say the 4 attributes are color, form, movement, and spatial positioning. For color, we may use 3 different ways to differentiate between differences, either by changing the color of the important information to deliver, as you see for color difference, or either another example is by changing the intensity of color to emphasize on some information compared to others, or by using contextual perception by changing the colors between different scales. Let's say it's preferred to be between, let's say, white and black. So that second attribute, form, we may use different approaches to identify and emphasize the differences of our data using visualization. So the first example, it may be using different shapes. As you can see, we identify the important information using a rectangle instead of simple lines. Another way may be to deliver the desired message by changing the size of the important information. So as an example, we may use the bubble charts, and through the bubble charts, each bubble chart, the size of each bubble depends on the cells. So this will make a differences, and it will be considered as a pre-attentive visual attribute using form and by changing the size. The third type is to enclose the desired information to be delivered more easily and more accurately to the receivers. So as you can see in those 3 examples, we use 2 different attributes together, color and form. So the attributes can be used with each other, and let's say it's not only one attribute that you can use by one. by each time. So the third attribute is movement. So you can see we either may use motion to identify, let's say, the direction from X to Y, from source to destination, using motion instead of giving guidelines or instructions, or using a flicker like the use for the traffic lights. هلا for the fourth attribute is spatial positioning, as we may use different forms in positioning to differentiate between information. This example, let's say we use concave and convex positioning used, let's say, to differentiate between different moon phases. So when we develop information visualization, we decide which attributes and properties to use to deliver the message more fastly, accurately, with the desired amount of information, let's say with emphasizing on the most important information that we want to deliver. This type of visualization is used or is called the visual mapping. So the choice of these four pre-attentive attributes, as we discussed previously, we can use multiple attributes with each others. And the most significant thing that can be done to utilize this is the science to improve information through visualization. And now we will discuss our last topic of this webinar and the main topic of this webinar, the success formula, the 7 rules to get the visualization right. So the success formula of IBCS standards consists of 7 rules to get visualization right, and the 7 rule acronym success, and they are say, unify, I'm sorry for the interruption, say, unify, condense, check, express, simplify, and structure. For say, the idea is to convey a message. So it's about having a message to tell, or in general, about to deliver a meaningful content in your reports, graphs, dashboards, or even your text. So a good example, as you can see below, we must emphasize and differentiate the header in this example as a text. We must differentiate and emphasize the header, which enables from the main points, which enables the readers to quicker grasp what he or she is looking, let's say, between the header and the points, and to make the points more clearer to understand and read compared to the paragraph. As you can see, the first example is not recommended when you are preparing a report or a text to represent. So for Unify, this category is about standardizing the content of the information. So let's say if I want to standardize the information, so we must, let's say, represent all the symbols and all the text with the same size of text, the same font, the same shape of icons. So let's say how you might unify the look of the tables and charts. So the thing is about making, unifying and standardize and making all the symbols, text, fonts and graphs look the same. And it's not recommended to use different fonts as this example, different shapes, different colors and so on. We have to unify the data to make it easier for another people to understand and not to get distracted. For condense, we have to concrete or to concentrate the information. Condense is about concentrate the information by increasing the information density on a given report or a graph. So let's say a high level of information, let's say we can condense and concentrate those information in one graph. As you can see in this example, instead of using 2 different graphs, we condense the related graphs into one simple graph to make it easier to understand, easier to grasp, and easier to get this information. For check is about ensuring the quality of the report, graph, dashboard, the content of information that we are trying to deliver to the receiver. So the receiver always expect the data in this report or in this visual to be accurate and to present all the required information needed for them to make the decision. For express is about using the proper visualization, as the good visualization starts with selecting the key elements to convey the desired message and to deliver it with the underlying facts as quickly as possible. So let's say we talked about previously about the content, about making sure that the content is accurate to deliver a message. Now we are talking about the visualization. So it will not be visible, let's say, to use pie chart when I want to use it for for my sales. If I want to predict or to see the trend of my sales, it's recommended to use the line chart, not the pie chart, because it will give more information and it's a proper visualization of this information. And moving to the next rule is simplify. Simplify emphasizes on avoiding clutters, noises, redundancy objects that are not needed on this let's say graphical representation or this report. So as you can see in this example on the right, it's not recommended to use shadows because it distracts the information. So keep it simple. Use simple, let's say colors. Instead of using different colors for those columns, use one unified color for simplicity and not to distract people from getting the information unless you want to emphasize, let's say for this lowest value, you may use a different color to emphasize the importance of this value. Moving to the next rule of success formula, it's structure. Structure is about organizing the content itself than the visual representation. As we talked for the previous rule, it was about the visualization. Now we are talking about the content itself. So as you can see in the next example, in on the table on the left, all the information are condensed and structured in one table only. So you can see they are talking about Hamburg, Berlin, then North. I think they are meaning by North, Berlin and Hamburg. Then Munich, Stuttgart, South. They are meaning the South cities, and then Germany. So it's recommended to let's say to differentiate between categories and subcategories of information in the table. So as you can see, they put the North as a total for Hamburg, Berlin, and South for a total for Munich, Stuttgart, and the total of those two categories and subcategories for Germany. This will make it more clearer in structure and deliver more the information more easily. Now, as we finished the webinar and the content of our webinar, I hope you can address some questions to validate the ideas that you may have during this presentation.
Thank you very much, Fadi, for your presentation. We've received a couple of questions. So the first one is, what are the different types of visualizations that we may use, that we may have, that we may find in a presentation?
Okay, that data visualization is not always about, let's say, building graphs or charts using, as an example, using Excel. Data visualization consists of, let's say, building dashboards that have different graphical representation. Using reports can be considered as a data visualization. Graphs and charts are parts of data visualization, and infographics also are part and considered as a type of data visualization. So you have different options to choose from.
Okay, thank you very much for your answer. And the second question we've received is, where could we find more information about infographics, for example?
So let's talk about infographics. Infographics are a graphical visual representation of information. So let's say you can, in the infographic, collect a lot amount of information, data, pictures to help the receiver to understand the information more quickly and clearly. So for infographics, you can search online to learn more about them. And hopefully within the next quarter, we will prepare a new webinar to discuss more about the infographics, their usefulness, and when and where to use them, with some examples, of course. And we will keep you updated to learn more about those infographics.
Okay, we've received just a new question right now. Do you know of a source where someone can know for certain which kind of visualization is better for which KPI? For example, line graphs for sales instead of a pie chart. Do you know of a source where people can get these kinds of information?
Maybe we can provide you with such information after this webinar to give you more sources and more information of where you can get such information. And we may, let's say, give you some direction and information, maybe some templates to use to help you to get understanding of which type of graphs, what type of visualization to use, or even you may, let's say, attend our training course that will be hopefully held next month in Dubai, to learn more about data visualization, to learn more about types of graphs, when to use the graphs, and hopefully also in the future we will deliver such webinar to talk about this topic, and we will keep you updated, of course.
Okay, and we've received one more question. Now, I know you're exceptionally well specialized in using Excel. So, this question is going to pose a bit of a bias for you.
Okay.
Someone asked, what is a useful program to help showcase data visualization graphs of any kind aside from Excel? Because Excel is sometimes hard to use. Would you recommend any other software aside from Excel?
For visualizing data.
Yeah, yeah.
So we discussed previously in the let's say what tools we can use. So if you have, let's say, a very good programming skills, you may let's say using Python, use Plotly, or even if you don't have let's say programming skills, you may use softwares like Tableau and Power BI. It will be very easy for you to let's say to save the data in a database and then connect it to multiple graphs and different types of graphs and so on.
Okay, we've reached the end of our allotted time for this presentation, and we also have no further questions. And this also brings us to the end of our Q&A session. Fadi, do you have any last words for our listeners?
Thank you very much for attending the webinar. I hope you are you will be safe within this let's say period of time. I wish you all the best and all the luck.
Okay, thank you very much once again for your presentation.
Thank you, Andre.
The KPI Institute appreciates your interest in the webinar 7 Rules for Getting Visualization Right. Follow our websites and our social media channels to find out more details about our next webinars when they get posted. Also, if you are interested in getting a certification granted by the KPI Institute on vital areas within the performance management discipline, you can explore our scheduled courses on marketplace.kpiinstitute.org. Thank you once again for your participation. We wish you the best of performance and have a nice day.